Babards TV,
Hey,
bigger than such
yo,
representing.
this is Nitro, NYTRO.
You're in tune to Babards TV. What make you never have a watch it? You can fling with your DVD. Keep you locked to Babards TV. And we are locked on the whole country. From Mobile go straight to St. Tune in when you're there watching. This is Babards TV. Babards TV.
Everybody does a watch. The matter is a bit on it up and hatch. We not care when we are gonna watch. When we are gonna Babards TV. It is the best station. And I ain't a running nation. We not care about pagan.
To bring us to greetings.
Babards TV. Turn it on, make it play. Turn it on, make it play. In all the youth them astray. In all the youth them astray. Babards TV, I play and you know it are the best. No other station could have
Good afternoon, everyone. Should I say Robinson and Robinson and Robinson? Sometimes, I like to come and just listen. Not necessarily to speak, but just to listen and observe the interaction. Let me say how pleased I am to be here yet another time. And I have to observe that it is St. James West Central that is represented here on both sides of the political divide. Councillor Crawford from the Spring Garden Division and Councillor Thomas from the Mount Salem Division. It tells you how the representatives in the St. James West Central constituency are working on your behalf. I thought I'd begin by just explaining again, and for those who don't know, how representation is structured between central government and local government. And I assure you I won't be very long. I know many persons want to see their members of parliament all the time, and they want to see you in the constituency all the time. But the truth is that the primary role of the member of parliament is that of legislator. Parliament is the place where laws are passed for peace, order, and good government. When you elect an MP, it's not a member of the constituency that you're electing. And a lot of the decisions that need to be taken or influenced to bring about the results on your behalf are not decisions that are taken in the constituency. But your member of parliament needs to be sufficiently present and in touch to understand the issues. There is no requirement constitutionally or legally for the member of parliament to reside in the constituency or in the parish. And this is in contrast with the requirement for your councillor at the local government level. By law, the councillor is required to reside locally within the constituency, by law. It means, therefore, that the member of parliament cannot operate in the same way that the councillor operates. And you're not going to see the member of parliament, even with the best of will and interest, being present always. And this is especially so if your member of parliament also sits in the executive branch. And in particular, if you're part of the cabinet. The cabinet is the highest decision-making body of the government. It is a principal instrument of policy, and it is collectively responsible to the parliament for all the decisions that are taken in the nation. The business of passing laws is a very complex matter. And in fact, the more I get into this role as member of parliament, and with the added role of attorney general, is the more I am seeing why the country is challenged with law and order and good governance. Because the time that is required of members of parliament to dedicate to the policy making process and the law making process the time is whittled away by having to take on so many other responsibilities that are properly assigned elsewhere. And then there is the expectation, the understandable expectation of constituents. You know, there is a bad example of many persons coming, asking for your vote, getting the vote, and then you don't see them. No progress is made on the issues that face you. But here is something that I want you to understand very clearly, and why I personally take the time when I can to be part of your meetings. Each of us has a role to play. Each of us has a role to play. And the unrealistic expectation that people can behave as they choose without regard for the consequences of those behavior. And then the member of parliament or the councillor must pick up those consequences as part of the challenge we're facing. So if we take the simple example of garbage, if you think you can just dump the garbage anywhere, and then you're going to call on the MP and think that work by the councillor or the MP alone is going to change the habit. You may put the bins down. Councillor and I, we have worked and we have put garbage bins, especially along the Freeport community. And I make it a point of my duty to monitor. And I sometimes see people dropping the garbage beside the bin instead of inside of it. So when the municipal corporation or the MP does the job of making provision for the receptacles, and then people go and drop it outside, how do we solve the problem? It's not an MP or a councillor problem. It is a problem that has to do with the habits and the behavior of the people. So I say to you that I'm very pleased that you continue to take such interest in your communities. And often when we gather like this, it is the converted that we speak to. You are not the ones who need to hear the message of continued involvement. But your work makes my work less difficult. And I really want you to know that as someone who is entrusted with the privilege of participating, influencing, and making decisions at the highest level, I continue to take strength from all of you who are showing up and are playing your part, who are engaging, and we don't have to agree on anything, but at least we are present and we're engaging each other. All of your challenges will not be met in a single year or a single government term. But speaking for myself and the team that I represent, I can tell you that we are working and we continue to work. And we will not stop working until we make real progress on the issues that face you. So, for those of the community groups that I'm a part of, I do that deliberately so you know you can reach me, whether I engage. And I think the same is true for Councillor Thomas, the same is true for Councillor Crawford. And we engage with you. And there is no one person who say they try to reach their MP and can't do so. If you try and you can't reach this MP, it's not because this MP has not made herself available. Neighborhood watch as I take my seat is very important. St. James is getting better. I feel such a difference in the mood of the place since I have come here to be part of the parish. I feel the difference and I see the difference. And I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I am not one for fanfare. And I think it disturbs a lot of people because they're so used to politicians who make a lot of noise and profile and are just turning up for photo ops. I don't operate like that. I don't. My interest is ensuring that things get done. And I want you to understand that there is a process in getting things done. It doesn't start and end when you make the request. There are processes. And I'm not saying people can't call my name, but I can tell you, I'm not mixed up in anything. And I am not going to allow genuine requests from constituents to cause me or my team to get in any trouble in respect of the rules. But I think many of you understand that. continue to take ownership of your community. The direction of this government with the law reform, special measures, the ZOSO law, state of emergency, and every other bit that we're working on or we're implementing right across areas is geared ultimately at ensuring that while the government apparatus does its part, citizens are better able to own their communities, own their peace, own their safety. Don't forget, the vilest of criminal is somebody's son, somebody's brother, sister, cousin, right? Many of them are not strangers, and they are being protected by people. So this work that needs to be done has to be done by all of us. And I want to commend you for showing up and doing your part. It makes my life less difficult. Here for you.
Good morning, or good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure why Debo decided to take the fight to me, but
much love between the two sides in St. James.
I must say, it's good to be here again. I've been here over the years many times, and it is good to see so many faces inside here. Truth is, the Neighborhood Watch and this program is very important. And as we sit down in St. James and look at the state of emergency and the situation with crime and the dwindling numbers, this unit, I think, in my opinion, will form a significant part of the way forward, because we don't expect the police to be here with a state of emergency continuously, and organizations like these should be instrumental in that transitioning and also in the aiding and assisting with our communities as we go. I think that's the very purpose they were formed in the beginning. So it's important that members and Madam AG use your office and really get as many people involved as possible. I think it is an important arm, and really lay down seriously how we move forward and support these organizations in the communities. It's play a very important role. Also, I'm glad to see so many of you here, and say to you, Mr. Crawford, and everyone, and each and every one of you here today, good to hear. Keep it up, keep up the good work, and continue to bless to work in your community. I am disappointed in the number of councillors that showed up, because the reality is the council, and which I have requested also of the mayor, and I think he has done it, is an important body that is on the ground within the communities. We feel, touch, and hear your concerns on a daily basis, and it should form an important part, that group of people and how we represent you out there. I've at the council requested of the mayor, which he has done, is request that the councillors and the SOE should really sit down and have a discussion, because at the end of the day we are a stakeholder, the local representative within the parish, and as such we should be afforded that level of responsibility on your behalf, the people, to have a one-on-one frank discussion, and at the same time, while we form an important part of the government and the management of the parish and the communities, the Neighborhood Watch falls also in that category, and if we pull our stakeholders together, we should do much better going forward. And thank you all, and I think I've managed my 2 minutes, right?
Morning, everyone. Afternoon. Well, you know, that's how it is with me. My days are long, so sometimes I really don't know what point of the day we're at. But you know, when I look around in the room, I see the familiar faces. I don't see associates, I don't see colleagues, I see friends. I see friends that share the same values as myself, and I hope it's heartening to some of you who know me well that I've taken the bold step to enter representational politics and bring some of your values into the political realm. That is why I'm here. People like us need to get involved. I know we tend to look at politics and scorn it, but we need to insist that persons that share our values get involved in the process. We're here as a Combined Citizens Association to discuss matters affecting St. James. Now, we're here at the police station, and what I know the Combined Citizens Association understands is that crime needs to be dealt with as how you deal with most other problems. If your house is infested with mosquitoes, you can come and spray it every day, but all you're doing is poisoning yourself. What you need to do is identify the source of the problem, which is the paint pan outside that is settling the water. If you eliminate that problem, you will find that you won't need to be spraying every day. So many times when we look at the good work that the police are doing and are saying to ourselves, another gunman has been arrested, another criminal is now off the street, have we taken that minute to think about the process that is creating more, which clearly is doing it more efficiently than the one that is taking them out? I have had the opportunity since becoming a councillor to have met with some young men who have gotten lost. And in having discussions with them, I realized that something went wrong along the line. Something went wrong along the line. We can complain about them when they are already a fully complete product, but if the factory is still not corrected, it will continue to produce the same twist-up buckle. So unless we stop focusing on the result and start focusing more on what has created them, which clearly you guys understand, we have a tough task ahead of us, and we will relapse to where we're coming from as a community. I just want to thank you, and I want you guys to just applaud yourselves for taking the time out. Please give yourselves a round of applause. You really didn't have to be here. And I thank you for the invitation, and whatever I can do, the office of the council is not a very bossy one, but we have our duty to do, and we surely will continue to do it. And I ask you to continue to invite me, and I will continue to come and assist in any way that my office will so allow me to as council. So guys, thank you. Welcome to the friendly division of Spring Garden, by the way. It's right around you. Welcome to Spring Garden also. Thank you guys. God bless you. Dwight Crawford. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford, Councillor Crawford, and Thomas. Members, we are still hoping that the senior superintendent will join us, but if he doesn't, I'm going to invite Miss Robinson to tell us a little more about the lunch and the meet and greet. And after that, I invite Mr. James to officially do the vote of thank you all for coming. And we will eat and we will talk.
Can we ask questions to them?
I notice on a daily basis when I'm in town, persons are still urinating across the city. I'm saying that I notice in the city, persons are still urinating on the street. It's very annoying when you're on the street and see like a big man who just stand up at a light post and urinate in public. I am asking penalty. I think there's some penalty at some point. Some persons who do such acts.
I am not sure offhand what the current penalty is. Mr. Robinson putting up his $2,000. Sorry? $2,000. Alright. So I take it you're asking the question as to whether collectively you consider the penalty to be sufficient and whether you think it should be increased.
Increase and more activated, more activate,
or enforced, more importantly, enforced.
Let me just say, once more the point that was just made regarding the penalty for urination is now is now us focusing on the action, the reaction I should say, which has come as a result of poor culturing. So we're looking at increasing the penalty. We can continue to increase the penalty to $20,000, but if we don't try to find ways to get people to respect their community enough and respect themselves enough to not urinate on the road, we could increase the penalties to $200,000 and they would still do it nonetheless.
All right, we have a question from this lady over here. Say your name. Yeah, stand up. Say your name and ask your question.
My question is,
your name and where you're from.
My name is Beverly Young. Malahoo Forte. And my question would be, are there sufficient public places for people to use instead of the tree route?
You would have noticed Councillor had leaned over to Councillor Thomas while Councillor Crawford was responding. And that's the same question I was asking. And you can probably tell them, conveniences are available. And top of it,
and workable and safe.
Yeah man, there's one right at 4th Street, right?
One at Sam Shops where
No way they are.
but there are also, ladies and gentlemen, as a combined group, there are also private sector partners that we have that are not playing their part. Because I understand that there are businesses downtown that are restaurants and other places of heavy traffic. That if you go there and you need to use a bathroom, they don't allow you to go into their bathroom. No, that to me is full disrespect. You're going to patronize someone's business and the courtesy of using their bathroom is not being extended to you. I think as a people, not only as legislators, but as a people, we should support those businesses. Because if we're going and spending money for them to support, for them to run their business, they need certain courtesies.
Can I just share one experience with you, and I share your view, Councillor. And in fact, there are in some places, some other countries where it is mandatory once you have an eating establishment for you to have rest facilities. I mean, it's just the way biology works. But I had an experience in this constituency when I was doing a project. And I remember when the community member called me to say, MP, I have to take a look at that. We're fixing up toilets somewhere, not too far from here. A parent brought the child into the toilet and told the child, pee right there. The bowl is there, you know, and then number 2 right there. And the person, if I didn't see it myself, I would not have believed it. Because when the community member said to me, MP, I don't mean to gross you out, ma'am. I just have to ask you to just look at this. And I shook my head. I was traveling on this road. Cruise ship had just come in. One of the drivers, taxi drivers, just stopped. Passenger is in the car. Again, I tell you, shocked and out. Urinated, brush off him hand and walk. Let me tell you. So, 2 things, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm happy you've raised it, because sanitation, when you deposit your waste, it's not healthy, apart from the stench, and even inhaling the stench. But and this is part of what I talk about, habits. So you would say, well, the authority need to play its part, need to supply sufficient facilities. They're there. So if they're there and the people don't use it, then we go back to the enforcement issue. But I also want to tell you that we're moving to a direction in justice reform for some offenses where if the penalty is a fine and you're unable to pay the fine, instead of imprisonment, you're sentenced to community service to make it more effective. And that's the direction. So for all of the public order offenses, unless you really are a threat, and part of it is going to be a recommendation for them to clean up. So it's so important that you must let your MPs be legislators. We interact and we hear, but so that when we hear the concerns, we can then go and be effective. And then those who have to enforce.
A question here. Say your name and where you're from, please.
I'm Janet Gordon, Adelphi Grove. My question is, if the law is to be enforced, in the case of Mr. Hilton, and you see someone doing that, how do you get that person to be penalized for doing that? Who does he go to? Does he go to the person, ask your name or something, and go to report to whom? Who do you report that person to? How do you get to report that person for the person to be penalized for doing that? Citizen arrest? Yeah. But you still need to report it to somebody that the person just did that there.
So which citizen would be bold enough to make an
That's what I'm
arrest?
saying. So
Let me see a show of hands so we can.
I need to do it. But how is the law going to be enforced? Nobody knows except Mr. Hilton that he did that there.
Councillor here has a suggestion. He was just whispering to me.
Well, what I will say to you is that as municipal police, when certain crimes are committed, let me just refer to them broadly as crimes against our country, we have to draw them before the court. We are a little toothless at this time. I would prefer to see where a municipal officer can walk. I look forward to the day where a municipal policeman can walk with a ticket book like a policeman. Charge a man for urination, charge a man for illegal garbage disposal, so on and so forth.
Looking forward to that.
So what's your MP at work with our two councillors? I am going back, and Monday morning when I go to cabinet, I'm going to make a recommendation to Minister Mackenzie, who's the Minister of Local Government, who has portfolio responsibility, and I'm going to make the suggestion. Because right now, we're actually going through a lot of our laws. Minister Shock has been every forum that he speaks in, he tells you about, the aggressive move in the Ministry of Justice to upgrade the law. But I like this one. So you ticket there and then you can't pay the fine. And that's why, the identification system is so important. That is, people, see, we get criticisms about it, but persons don't understand the link. Because when you give discretion to a man that you can't identify, you don't know what his address is, you don't know what his name is, you don't know what his identity is, how are you going to be assured? We continue to make a mockery of it. When we move to implement the national identification and registration system, and everyone has a verifiable national ID, linking across areas, let me tell you, enforcement is going to be a lot easier, and people will be better protected. So it's not just a gain to the state, but it is a gain to all of us as citizens and also to the individual.
Well, a question over here. Okay. A question at the back.
My name is Patricia. My name is just to help the process. So the municipal police under the National Service Management Authority Act are authorized to ticket persons.
I didn't know that.
We don't have ticket books.
And they have, I cannot show you that.
So who has the
We can talk after, but I know they.
Well, citizens.
So it's a combination of the municipal police and also the solid waste management.
And the police.
Yes, and the police. So there are three entities that currently can enforce that law, which is the police, municipal police, and the solid waste.
But they have to.
Because the same rules go for garbage disposal and everything else in terms of that entity. So it's more enforcement than anything else. But to add to the municipal police, one of the things we have looked at also in trying to ensure we have more order in the city is to have more municipal police other than enforcing vendors and the reward and managing that, is also to try and get them the capacity to issue parking tickets for both parking and obstruction of vehicle space, for obstruction of traffic and things like that along the way to try and bring more order. So that is also one thing we're trying to push the municipal police, not just the police, but the municipal police to be able to do that to help to bring back some more order within the general city space.
Mr. Blake, you have a question?
Sure. Question more to the Member of Parliament and also to the Councillor. When are we going to implement the camera system? And that will also help as one. Can you tell me if you have any facility that will facilitate persons with disabilities in terms of sanitary wise. And 3, a suggestion, can the funding that the councillors are getting, and I'm not sure the exact figure, it is part of it, are 250,000 a month, can that be increased? But I think that's a joke with what the councillors are getting to work with, especially to know that the communities are so wide and the demands are so great. You want to say the last part, Lord?
I can tell you something, man. Yes. I can tell you that in the community of Spring Gardens, there are 13 communities in the community.
It's from Catherine Hall.
Right, I know that. So if you were to divide, you have a good point. If you were to divide the allocation for the month between 13, it would, I mean, I don't need to work out the numbers for you guys. So it is almost a miracle at times how we achieve the things that we achieve, which is also why partnership with private sector and guys like you is so important to us as political representatives, as we are under-resourced as government. We don't have an abundance of it, contrary to what is believed.
I share the view that we need more. I will put dot behind the more. So, monies that are allocated, and this is how perspective matters. When you are privileged to be exposed to the workings of government, we shouldn't speak in the same ignorant way. And I'm not speaking about you, I'm speaking about myself. No, having been entrusted as a representative in Parliament. So all the monies that are allocated come from the tax revenue. And nobody wants to pay more taxes, but everybody is demanding more service. That's one point to note. That's not the end of it. I have learned so much about getting the best bang for the buck doing projects in my constituency. There are people who just want the money and not want to do the work and just shortchange. And I say to them, if you are a supporter of the party that forms the government, don't you think that you let down your own people and let down the government when you shortchange? I mean, I don't really have authority over the supporters of the other party, except to the extent that you're constituent. But I don't think this is an issue that the council and I are disagreed on. It's really amazing. So sometimes it's not necessarily that more is required by way of money, but more is required by way of proper management. More is required by way of dealing with integrity. More is required by way of measuring what needs to be done. And I tell persons, I am not perfect, but let me tell you something. I take the responsibility of representing people with integrity and accountability very seriously. Very, very seriously. So true, more may be required. But if the problem is not necessarily a money problem, it doesn't matter how much more you put in, if the other behaviors are not changed, the approach to leadership and management, if those are not changed, you're still going to end up with the problem. And this is a matter that I personally have tested by way of research. We had an entity that kept on requesting more. So we did, within a certain band, provide more. And let me tell you, the problems got bigger. The problems got bigger because it was not an issue of money. It was an issue of the management, how the decisions are taken and implemented. But all of us, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this job is tough, it's tough, it's tough, it's tough. There are times when I wake up in the middle of the night and I say, Lord, which part of my head did I hit to take it on? Because first of all, you come with a sense of purpose, and everybody will mix you up and think that you're indecent because others may have approached your work in a certain way. And think that everybody in politics is corrupt without understanding that there are people who go genuinely to serve and make a difference. And then because of the tribal context in which we live, we exist, if you're not on my side, you can do no right. And if you're on my side, you can do no wrong. It's crazy, it's all the system, right? So that's why your presence here is so encouraging for people like us. I mean, the council and I are not on the same team, and I will tease him about profiling and things. But I do believe that he has a heart to serve. Yes. You know? And I think St.James West Central is probably the most competitive of the political environment because
I will say to him, like the other day I said to him, you remember how you were against the Zoso, but now you're singing the praises of it. But I know that having passed that stage and he's seeing the results, the positive results that are coming, he can't help but come on board and support. But sometimes in our tribal nature, in our ignorance, we cry down and we tear down things. Boys, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
May I?
Can we have it?
Oh, sorry. I wanted to add one point before you make your point there. Ladies and gentlemen, you realize that we're not policing ourselves or asking for policing against aliens from outer space. We're asking to be policed against ourselves. I have cleaned many drains, and I will tell you that the National Solid Waste, I must admit, there may be some issues, but National Solid Waste has improved and is doing a fantastic job. The days of burning garbage in the backyard are no longer, and the burden has now been thrown all on the National Solid Waste. When I was growing up, we used to burn the garbage in the backyard, and the garbage truck used to come once a month or once every or a long cycle. No garbage is being put out at the gates every day. But what I will say to you is, many of the drains that I have cleaned, 75% of the drains that I have cleaned, that I get complaints about them being blocked. I don't go there and take out many bottles. I don't go there and take out many plastic bags. What I go there and take out is building material. Sand and stone and topsoil that people dump at them gate. And when the rain comes, it wash it down and back up the drains. I am excavating. You see, if it was bottles and bags, Kerry, we could have used hands to take it out. We have to be using backhoes and tractors to excavate the building materials that our neighbors. You see, but you see the problem. So we can talk about more money for parish council, more money for central government, more money for solid waste, more money for this, more money for that. But if we don't start to look at the root cause of the problem, which is our neighbors who are doing their business without caring about the effects of what they're doing. I mean, we will continue to ask for more and more and more. And I would say that I'm sure some of us in here are guilty of it. But we never thought for a minute that when the rain falls, the water washes the sand right down into the drain, and the topsoil right down into the drain, and the marl and the building aggregates and stuff. So.
A question from Bulk Village.
We don't.
Very happy to see you and to let you know that since the last time we saw us together, we are now legal, autonomous.
What? Oh! This is Bogue Heights? Bogue Heights? Bogue Village.
And I am their public relations officer.
So proud. See what I mean when I tell you how encouraged I am? Wonderful.
I was the one who was sort of sad for you in December. I didn't know how.
What do you see that?
I was coming to that hashtag promise made, promise kept.
Okay.
Yay.
Before I move on to my question, I just want to add something to what our councillor said about the building material and the drains. Because I call myself the drain police.
Yes.
Because when I'm walking and I'm seeing in front of people's doorway, there's a storm drain and it's covered with stuff. And I'm in the habit of dragging things from upper side in my bag down to my side and sweeping the sand and the silt that is going down in these areas.
Yes.
My observation, brothers and sisters, that wherever there is a pile up of grass, sand and stone in the gutter, right across from it correspondingly, there is a pothole. And I want you to, when you go back to our respective communities, just pay attention to that. Because where that gutter is clean, the water has a nice way to run. Water follows the path of least resistance. So I just want to point that out. Thank you. My question is, how can we address the safety issue of vegetation overgrowth in unoccupied homes and lots? And you notice I said we, because I think there has to be a partnership in order to address that.
Where is Miss Dawkins? Miss Dawkins is from the Westgate Hills community, so is Mrs. Forbes over here.
both councillors
I am a resident.
are residents.
So I coach the council.
And let me tell you, it's an active group. And I think it's one of the biggest challenges that has been pointed out. But there's people letting people down, eh? And then it becomes a government problem now. Because if you own land, my goodness, look at the struggle to own land. And you own it. I don't want to hear that some gone to prison, because that's what I hear when we make inquiry. And the current method is where the municipal corporation can do the cleaning, and then you can put a lien on the property. Go, I have to look at that law, you know, to make it less expensive, less cumbersome to do that, and then it becomes part of your property tax and charge. That's why I say, make sure you give your MP space to work out policies and pass laws that make sense. We interact in this way, and then we go and we do what makes sense on your behalf. But even when we pass the laws now, so the parliament will pass the law, because parliamentarians get cost a lot. What is your role? They will tell you, I emphasize each of us doing our part. Yes. It's not we enforce it. There's an enforcement arm. Let down. I don't know. I haven't given up hope yet. I haven't given up hope yet. But I think Westgate Hills is developing a little model that when they have perfected it, you perhaps can invite them to come and share what they're doing. Because it's going to require a multiple approach from all angles, including the council doing its part.
Hold on. Can I just say that this is something that has come from the community, and we have written to the Municipal Corporation. And this is one of the responses, because we know that there are laws, bylaws, whatever we call it, that the council employ. We've written to the public health, because there are issues that they can look at as well. Nobody...
Can I make a suggestion to you, ladies and gentlemen, not to cut you? In another week or two, I'm going to make my sectoral presentation in Parliament. Arising out of this meeting, can you just pen that issue, since it goes right across? And I will raise it in the Parliament. I will send out a message for you to listen, and then you can see, and I will raise it.
Thank you.
As a matter that requires not just a legal solution, but it may require the Parliament taking a fresh look at the effectiveness of the laws in light of the context in which we live. But you see, if we don't have national ID and registration system, we can't enforce a lot of the things. That's why the government has seen it as such a critical plank in good governance, to make sure that every citizen and persons who are ordinarily resident in Jamaica can be properly identified. That way we can plan better, we can allocate the resources better, we can know the needs, we can minimize the seepages and the loss. But if you send me the letter, you can send it through or any of my constituents. I will find a way to have it mentioned in Parliament.
Thank you.
One point to add to here, and come back to the garbage in the drain and the bushing of the lots, right? As you recognize, none of any of these activities would be an action of your councillor, your MP, anyone. They are all citizen actions. They are citizen action whether you leave that lot unbushed and to be a hazard to your neighbors and everyone else there. It's a citizen action when you dump all your materials, because even though we discussed the drain, we also leave the fact that the whole building process a lot of the time help to destroy the roads within the communities, right? Whether it's the concrete that's fall on the road, whether it's the equipment that is working in that particular lot and digging up the road in that vicinity. So all the issues that has to be dealt with most of the time are citizen created. They are created by the citizens in each community. Then when the citizens create those issues, then you turn to the political representative to try and resolve those issues. So, right, so at the end of the day, part of your group, the organization, in policing your communities and building better relationships within your communities, you can achieve more. You can achieve more by being strong in how you approach things, being strong in how you deal with your neighbors, being strong in how you communicate with them in order to help protect your community. Because the greater you unite in your community, one, it is how you are going to help to minimize crime in your community. Because in a lot of the communities, crime is created from people who are within the communities, people who come and shelter in the communities, observe the communities. Westgate is Woke Village, went through periods of those when crime is created from people who live there. So that's how your neighborhood watch comes in critical. Your neighborhood watch comes in critically because you will find early reports to the police or the corporation and activities, not just of crime, but when a man is destroying the road, when a man is doing things that are help to the face in your community. So it is very important that we strengthen these groups, because this group, as I said, is going to be that transition that helps to police the community and need to have better communities. So always keep that in mind. There are always community members and citizen actions that leads to all the issues that we have to deal with most of the time.
Mr. Hawkins, before you make your point, let me just finish the point that Council here is saying, because we do speak from the same platform in Council. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes as citizens, solutions, it works better for your councillors, for your men on the ground, if you come with solutions, because asking us to think about the thousands of issues and the way to fix all of them sometimes, because what we impose on the community many times dies after we're gone because we don't fully understand the community. So therefore we need your input so that we can better understand. So a simple practical solution. You have a block beside it that is covered in bushes. You call me, councillor, or you call Kerry and say, councillor, I have a man that comes to my yard 5 days a week. Pay him for 1 day so I can have him bush a lot beside me. Is that complicated? It's not complicated. It's not complicated. Just a council, I have a guy in my yard that runs a walker. Next week Thursday I'm going to send him over to the lot for the day, and you just organize through the council to pay John Brown $5,000 for the day. It is not complicated, but many times we have so much on our heads. We look to the community to offer to us, because we don't want to carry any strange man into the community either. Or we don't want no scammers or anybody that come to just look about the money. We understand that you guys have a vested interest in the community. So, the council, I have my gardener. 1 day next week, I'll send him to the lot next door to me. And organize through the council at $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 at the end of the payment period for him to be paid, and it will work.
On that note, Councillor, I have said to Citizens Association within my St. James West Central constituency that when we're doing the projects, I will direct allocations to the Citizens Association. So it's part of you taking charge of it. It's also part of you ensuring that things are done at your level. And I've done it with Bogue when we were cleaning some drains. I've done it with some of the communities here in my constituency.
A question here from, a question here from Point. We're waiting a long time. I'll get to it.
Address. I guess every route that throws the taxi driver
I try not to laugh. I try to be diplomatic. Please, let us keep it.
Every route that approaches a taxi driver. So if you see a taxi driver urinating on the street, is that frozen one?
Ew.
See, so
I've seen
there's a song like that, Empress.
I see.
Beat song, yeah.
I know you like the Rasta lingo, but don't incur the wrath of everyone by referring to your MP as Empress in this setting.
When Johnny's for you, you never seem far. They want to be like always. Believe you are Johnny Empress. That's my family. I walk with that smile on my face. I know so we can't be this. You know one is. That's my family. Me I walk with a smile on my face. When I try to like you like baby that clean out. But you can't no easy, believe me, I will down. And little bit of job don't say for me.
I'm from the bountiful tourist resort of Kensington Point, that is sharp country. But your constituency impeding the drivers from coming there. I don't know if your council is not advising you properly about the Tucker Road. It needs to be properly put together.
Let me tell you. You know, the Tucker Road is a sore point. And the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Economic Growth, if I make any more representation for Tucker Road, they just told me last week that the allocation that has been made, but the roads have been bad right across constituency. a proper allocation has been made to fix the Tupper Road. I have insisted that the preliminary work of drainage be done, that there be coordination between the NWA and the NWC.
Yes.
All right? And I've indicated in my last conversation with the Prime Minister that the capacity, in looking at the capacity of the road, the pressure per square inch, and the quality of the road, take into account heavy trucks traverse the road from the quarries.
Right.
New developments have come in the estuary and other places. Alright? And there are issues, the problem has existed for years. But there are corrupt contractors who take money and don't fix the road properly. There are corrupt officials who turn a blind eye according to standard. I can tell you, if the road is not properly fixed, whether in stages or entirely, it would be because this member of parliament has not made the representation. Because I have groups every day they speak to me about it. And we are at a stage where the allocation has been made. It is going through the process. It is going through the process. That's all I can tell you. I can't tell you when it's going to start exactly, contrary to some who think I may be the prophetess. Everything takes time. But insofar as the representation that has come from this member of parliament at the highest level, it has been made.
I think the AWC has started.
Work has started.
I traverse that place every day. And
almost built overnight. Let me tell you what I've noticed. A lot of the problems that exist in this constituency, I come here now, my administration is in forward, they expect everything to be done overnight. Well, let me tell you something. I am not here to shortchange anyone. I'm not a superwoman. I've taken on a responsibility. And for those who have entrusted their representation to me, I will do the very best I can. I will do the best I can. And I expect that together we are going to do. Because as Attorney General, I made it clear to the government that standards must be met. The biggest discovery I made when I kept on saying, Prime Minister, something has to be wrong in works. Prime Minister, give him his due, because he listens when we go to him. He called in the agents. You know what we're told? Late 1990s, early 2000, the standard was revised down. Up to 3 days ago, I was in conversation with the head of the NWA, again talking about standard. A road I inspected, the contractors went out to fix it. And the debris is dropped on the road. And instead of clearing it, they fix a road. The other thing is, they are patching over the road and they bring the marl to the level of the surface. So I said, when the inspectors go out, tell me what is the quality of the inch that needs to go in. Who is signing off on these things? Who is compacting it? And I said to him, just remember, the Attorney General is given certain powers in respect of statutory agencies. This Attorney General will not be afraid to take the very government that it's a part of to court in terms of standards on behalf of the people.
Your chef gears are plain white and boring when you're a master chef at heart. Uninspiring and mundane, but you have greatness in you. Step into the future and look like the masterpieces you create. Get colorful, cutting edge, quality design chef wears from
Shireen Creations.
Hats, pants and aprons.
Shireen Creations.
Jackets and knife bags.
Shireen Creations.
Customized chef wears and accessories.
Shireen Creations.
Our wares are bright and vibrant, and the quality will last for years. Let us make you look as exquisite as the food you prepare. Our jackets and hats are also designed with aerated vents strategically located to keep you cool and ventilated even in the hot kitchen. Contact us at 876-324-3079 or email creationsensationals@gmail.com, or you can visit the website at www.shireencreations.com.
Shireen Creations.
Changing the culinary industry, one chef uniform at a time.
Some work is being done. The Barnet View Road is listed in the ZOSO because you're coming in for fixing. So you know that general work is being done there, but it is on the list for fixing. Can't all be done.
I know.
Right, but it is one of them that is that is in it. About 4 weeks ago, I drove right through and through, and here's Mrs. Forbes, Rena Forbes here, and Gregory. They're part of my team, who are constantly in that area, making assessments and doing things and bringing things to my attention.
Because it has been there for this government.
I know, but guess what? Everybody expect that. Yes. Yes. But aren't you pleased to see the improvements taking place in the Mount Salem area?
Yes. Yes.
What a way we never get discouraged by those who are cussing us about Zoso.
Well, I'm happy for those who are moving here for the rest.
I just been provocative. It comes. Yes, it is on the list. I can't tell you when they'll get to it, but it is on the list. And just to say, who is here from the Irving CDC? I've just begged the whole program to come and do an inspection of the community center. So Colonel Rickman and his team will come there. We're not going to give everything, but I have begged help for it to come. Yes. And we have just fixed up and still trying to fix up fully the Catherine Hall Community Center.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Work is being done right across this constituency. I'm not. Yes, ma'am. Which is that? Ah, okay. So you wouldn't get the scrutiny of me as MP because you're outside. But let me. Yes.
What we found out, the person who's living at a particular house, whenever they use a washing machine.
I see it, I see it. And it comes on the main road too. They do it right at the wall there. I've observed it because I used it to go down to the school. I've seen it. I've seen it.
I explained to the person, get somebody and I ask a young man to let her put the thing in. No, when we have a second, right now, most of our rooms are like
I see, trust me, it's pain in my heart. So I can imagine, and I don't live there. Much less you who are there and must encounter it.
Can we take the person to court?
Enforcement.
Yes, you know. Yes, you know, but don't say I said.
Enforcement.
You have to get some proper legal advice on the right cause of action. One before. One question, madam. One question. Leads back to the cleaning of communities and all that. Solution, council. For Westgate Hills, we are very active. We are trying to get the work done with the help of the community. Proud of Westgate Hills, you see, man. They give them MP trouble like hell, but yes. But what would help us if a little budget is set for Mrs. Dawkins, I just put Westgate Hills Boulevard, the one that you have me tour from in the hot of the sun. Yes. And that's going to require major expenditure. And that's the road. Right? When we fix the road, the one that connects the whole of Westgate. Yes. She had me in hot sun and the team, Mrs. Forbes and Gregory, in the day. You know, when I have a little time off from Kingston and a pop in. Those of you who don't live in my constituency may not appreciate it. Yes. But these citizens, and we go without fanfare, without the media. Because I say I'm not into the profiling business. But by then having a proper appreciation, I can go back. And when I sit at the decision-making table and say, here is why. We won't all get it done and we may fall down the line on the sequencing, but just getting it on the list is important. I'm talking about in the future, because if some of the responsibilities are given to the community, I think you'll see more done. Say the cutting. Mrs. Forte in the process in helping us getting a weed whacker. If we had a budget for 2 persons, a weekly budget or something like that, that we can go around and just cut the different May areas. I invite you to come to the next St. James, West Central and SDC community consultation, because we have had, I'm 2.5 years into MP now, and we have had 2 so far. And those citizens association that have come we kind of work a little differently with them. So in writing the CDF projects, we can look at it. I did write for Weed Whacker, but the procurement of it caused a little issue, but we're still looking to that direction. But in the same way that you come out, let me tell you now, you see the next term? See the next term? Because this term is my term of getting to understand things. You see, after I fully understand things next term, I want to meet with you next term of the Labour Party being in government. Are we going to deal with some serious constituent, serious community development laws? Seriously. No, but that is where we are working towards, you know. In taking into account the experiences, taking into account the challenges faced, to make sure that we don't go back down the path of doing things that don't bring the result. At the next term. This term, we're using it to have these kinds of understanding. And we'll do little by little until we get there.
Next term.
Thank you, madam. Now, the food is here, getting a bit stale, so we'll have the last question from Mr. Reid.
Listening to her problem, some of friends under the parochial and neighboring states, listening to us going to the south. I'm saying the parish council or the police.
Who is the council on that side? Because it's not our constituency. Mr. Vernon, make a report, but some of them need some guidance too. But make a note and we'll see. I'm so pleased to hear so many of you know your laws and know your things. You see, that's why you are the community leaders.
That's what I want to ask about. I want to take you through the process of how these laws are enacted.
That's for another session. You see how nice the interaction. I suggest that sometimes instead of having a guest speaker, you do the exchange. So we can let you know a little bit more how central government works and local government in an interactive way. I will do an abridged presentation for you, and even if I can't come, I will try to come and I will take you through the stages of lawmaking. Promise you we can't answer it now. All right? Because it is a pretty involved process.
Thank you.
I am not the one.
Before I ask our guests to say a final word, I give you the floor. 1 minute.
I'm ending on a positive. Our MP, Mr. Bartlett, just messaged us. Sorry, Mrs. Meeting is en route to Jordan at the moment and he'll be back in the island next week.
He's dealing actually with a sustainable tourism matter. Mr. Bartlett has taken leadership on a number of issues, and that's what he's actually going to Jordan to deal with.
Too many consultants.
One of the positive note I want to end on is our youth. Most of the places that from the Horticultural Society to the Combined Citizens Association to churches are all having the same problems. We are not including the young people. It's all, you go to all of the churches and it's mainly, not all, some, mainly the elderly that are active. I am suggesting that we try what we have done in our community. What we have done in our community to get the young people actively involved and feeling good about themselves. I can't.
Can you share the commendation of your peace community so that others, your logo, you shared something with me privately.
Well,
please.
Camrose is just up the road from Buttons, just up the road from where your border ends. And we have had all the problems that every other community has had, with crime and violence and shooting and everything, and the young men being traumatized. We have a tourism entity in the middle of the community, and we have taken on the community. And yes, it took a lot of money to get the youth involved, but it was not money that changed the community. It was actually parenting the young men. When they can come and call your mommy, and call your son, their brother, and they have somebody else who send them to school. The young men, a simple thing as making a Christmas tree, an ackee tree. Use an ackee tree for the Christmas tree in the community squares. And 1 year I decided not to do it. They came and said, Mr. Mika, no, we have to put up a Christmas tree, and they did it themselves. on the 20th of April, an arm of the United Nations has designated the community of Camelot and the only international city of peace in Jamaica, in St. James, where we are having a state of emergency. It is not for me, because it can lead a horse to water, but for the young men. And I did not apply, the community did not apply. It's just from the amount of guests who come there and the way that the community interacts with people.
And part of what your member of parliament does internationally, make no mistake.
But yes. You said it earlier.
Yes.
Our member of parliament.
Yes.
I have been one of the most critical of Mr. Bartlett.
Right.
I have cussed him, I tell him don't care for the community and not voting whatever. And he has taken a stance where I have to now stand up and say that he's working behind the scenes. I sent him a WhatsApp picture of CC Pounder, a movie star who came to our community. He's one of the youth in the community who now has to report to her. Because she told him, don't let me come to Jamaica, you need any problem. And when I sent it to him to say, see, we get it there without you. And he said, without me, I invite her to Jamaica.
There you go. And you wouldn't have, and it's true.
Hold on, and not only that, the things that he has done within the constituency, those of you who watch GIS or whatever, and they join me in Jamaica, he may not be in the community every day, but he's working.
So involve the youth.
Thank you. Now I'm going to give our panel 1 minute to say their last words before they interact with you and get some more of your questions.
Carry on with her. I'm up first. All right. Beauty comes before age this time. Thank you, Kerry. Once more, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me here this afternoon. But what I would like to remind us of here today is that our short-term memories, we need to start reviving our memories. Because I was in a forum the other day and heard somebody talking about the inconvenience out by Little Pot. They're in traffic for half an hour and they're down at Great River for half an hour, and it's such an inconvenience. But do we remember our workers that couldn't stay at work and overtime because there were gunmen parading in their community? You remember those inconveniences? You remember the inconveniences of school children who, if they came too late from extra lessons classes, had to sleep at bus stops? You remember those inconveniences? So now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to put into perspective is the kind of sacrifice that we need to start to look at. The sacrifices we need to make. We're sacrificing our workers home early because of the gunmen. Now let us sacrifice the delays at the checkpoints for the right reasons. Let us make those sacrifices for the right reasons. The St. James Municipal Corporation has made some moves and some conversations recently about an impact fee. Yes, it is another sacrifice, but it's a worthy sacrifice. Because when we talk about the concrete that spills on the road and all these things that happen in and around Montego Bay, there are people doing their construction that are causing these inconveniences. But when we speak about the impact fee, them say it's going to cost the price of construction to escalate. However, what does it do for us? We have roads with concrete. We have the Tucker Main Road, which everybody keeps saying Tucker Main Road, as though it is an Achilles tendon. Tucker Main Road is the most commercially used road in St. James. Every quarry, every garbage dump, every construction, every this, every that. Tucker Main Road needs to be made out of iron. And if it was even made of iron, it still wouldn't last. So, how do we deal with it? We start the impact fees, so that the persons who are doing their thing and achieving their goals that they set out to do, that are inconveniencing us, will now start to play a part in correcting and dealing with our place and our space more respectfully. So what I'm asking you for here today is your support when us as a council move forward to start implementing these impact fees. So when the concrete through on the road, you don't have to worry about calling the man that owns the factory or the concrete plant, because the parish council now will now be told to go out there and deal with it. So ladies and gentlemen, love you all, look forward to coming again, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yes.
What you said, need a response.
Next round of you.
Go right ahead.
Okay, we know that tourism, my name is Sidney in the tourism business. We know that tourism is what brings our dollar. And when the ship comes in, while there is something put in place like that, there should be some bike police that when the bus is coming from Ocho Rios, we don't get delayed 3-4 hours because of that. And it causes us to be telling the tourists something that we don't want to tell them. And we get delayed and the ship delayed, and in a while we will lose the ship also. So while that is being put in place, there are other things that can be put in place to combat it.
Okay, do you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
I think Councillor Thomas wants to respond to that for you. Councillor, you wanted to respond?
No, I'm
No, these are, let's
he will respond in his
mingle
round.
later.
Alright, good afternoon everyone. Again, it's good to be here. But as you would have recognized from all our discussions here, one of the most critical stakeholders in everything we do is us, the citizen. You have the powers in your hand for absolutely everything. In other words, you create everything, you decide on the government, you decide on what is done in your community, you decide on what you want. Most of the time, if you would have recognized it, is what you request, is what you demand, is what you ask for, that is done within your community, because no one knows best about your community than you. And you must acknowledge your power. You are not voiceless. You have a voice. You have a voice at many different stages. So therefore, what we need to recognize is that as communities, as citizens of communities, the more united you are, is the stronger your voice is, and you determine what you have in your community, how your community is managed, how orderly your community is. She used the example of that World Peace Center in her community, right? Other than the fact that Ed is going to work on it very hard, it still takes the involvement of community members for it to happen. Because if the project or the concept comes up and nobody within that community wants to buy into it or take ownership of it, then it will not come to fruition, right? So on that topic and every topic there is, we have ownership of it. Now to Mr. What's your name? Bennett. St. James was in a very critical state with crime. Okay? Some of the times, and I'm not speaking on the behalf of the government, I'm speaking as a resident and a citizen of our community. The truth is, for who travels all over the world, we expect delays many different places when we travel. So tourists are not averse to 5 minutes waiting and stopping and sightseeing. It's part of the process. But what we have to recognize is, what are we willing to put forward? What are we willing to commit for the betterment of ourselves, our country, our land, in going forward in how we grow? And we have to learn to put our Jamaican people first in everything that we do, because we can't treat our neighbors bad, we can't treat our kids bad, we can't treat our residents bad and ourselves bad, and then treat everyone better than us. So the first thing we have to do is put Jamaica first. There was once a slogan where we build Jamaica, buy Jamaica. Understand that we are the most important component. We are the product, and we must respect that product. Thank you.
Now we'll hear lastly from Madam.
I think they've heard enough from me.
Yeah,
I think you've heard enough from me. I want you to know that this government, led by Prime Minister Holness, of which I'm a part, is committed to working to improve your lives. There's a lot of long-standing problems in government. We won't resolve all of them overnight, and we will still have bumps and hiccups along the way, because it's a very treacherous terrain on which we're doing this work. But we are extremely committed to take decisions that will improve your lives in a meaningful way. I remain honored to be the representative for St. James West Central, and I see some of my community leaders here. I see Joseph there doing his part. I mean, he reaches out. There's a little young lady, Krista. Stand up, Krista. Krista may not be known by some of you, And she operates in a very tough community up in Mud Valley Retirement, but a heart of gold. Always reaching out, looking for those who are less fortunate, without the politics, without the affiliation. And I really am proud. When I tell you, my heroes, are the people like you, who without fanfare, without the privilege of high office, you are impacting your little world. So I look forward to the continued interaction. Don't give up. I remain confident that we're going to turn this country around. We're going to make our streets safe to walk on. And I tell you, it's little wonder that there's so much concentration on law and order within St. James. And as a member of parliament from St. James, with the responsibility that I have in central government, we're going to make our streets safe again. And we're doing it in a way to make sure that our laws are just, balanced, that human rights are observed and respected. But what an honor and privilege. I'll have to find time to tell you how much I am learning, and how frustrating it can be. But I think God has placed all of us where we are so that we can carry out His will and make a difference. So thank you for the privilege.
Everyone, I hope you found this morning, afternoon.
You're in tune to Baba TV.
Empress, greetings.
Greetings, Rasas.
I know you touched on the Rasta thing when you were talking, and I mentioned a thing. As a Rastafari, can you enlighten us on the laws that Rastafari have now to us as the sacramental right of ganja?
The last amendment to the Dangerous Drugs Act has made a special provision for sacramental use in respect of the Rastafarian faith. I think there is still a lot more work that needs to be done around it, and I know with the moves that have happened internationally, the latest one in Canada, very soon you will hear some engagement. As a matter of fact, I am now in the process of looking at something which I will advise Minister Shaw on in short order, and I'm sure he will speak to it wider. Minister Chuck has responsibility for the Dangerous Drugs Act.
Yes.
And
Mr. Tufton.
Right, Minister Tufton. So justice, health, and agriculture also are going to be collaborating, and the voice of the Rastafarian community will be critical.
Yes.
The good thing is we have a culture minister and a government that is very conscious of the importance and the cultural contribution of Rastafarians to Jamaica. So it's good time to make your representations. It's good time for discussion with the government.
Yes.
And then outcomes can be looked at.
True. Because we're confused as Rastafari, so I'm glad you enlighten us. And all Rastafari will see this and hear a comment. Thank you very much for talking to us on Bavars TV.
Greetings to the viewers. One love.
Rastafari.